Welcome to the Fort Johnson podcast. I'm Jeff England from the Fort Johnson Public Affairs Office. And this week we will be talking about knowing your family, knowing your partners, knowing your coworkers, and helping out, knowing when you can see differences in your coworkers' moods and changes, and just noticing the subtle differences that might help get to know or stop somebody from making a permanent decision off of a temporary problem. So stick with me right here on the Fort Johnson podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you are listening to this podcast, I am Jeff England from the Fort Johnson Public Affairs Office. That's 2 times in a row now that I've almost called this the podcast studios. But I am here today with Lieutenant Colonel Will Seitz, and he is the commander of the 2nd Battalion, 2nd Infantry Regiment right here on Fort Johnson. How are you doing today, Colonel?
I'm doing great, and thank you very much for having me today.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming in. I know you are a busy man, and most commanders are very busy, and especially when you have so many things going on in your unit. The good things, which is always good to help and have, but also some of the bad things. And I've heard that you've had some bad things happen recently. You lost a soldier recently to suicide.
Yes, sir. So that's the case. We tragically lost one of our teammates a few months ago, and in light of that, my sergeant major and I were sitting around trying to figure out, okay, we can't let this happen again.
No, I mean, it's hard. It's hard enough to lose somebody to suicide, but it's even harder when you're close to that person, when you work side by side with them every day, and it surprises you that it happens. And then you start questioning yourself. You're looking back and saying, I should have seen this. I should have seen that. I should have seen the signs. And you start blaming yourself or having what they call survivor guilt or whatever else they might call it. And I know, just talking to you, I've heard that you guys have come up with a idea that looks like it's going to help.
Yes, sir. So in light of that, Command Sergeant Major Absher and myself are sitting around trying to brainstorm ideas and figure out how we do it. Talk to some soldiers, talk to leaders across the formation, and ultimately what we decided was, hey, we just need to. Soldiers already have the greatest support structure they can possibly get, and that is the platoon and the squad. You go to the field with it, you get up every morning, and your platoon mates and your squad mates are the first people you meet. It's already the strongest support structure. It's where people, it's where they smoke and joke. It's where they have shared hardship together. They live together. They eat together. And we decided, hey, like that's the structure. Like, we have to take this. Taking care of each other is on us, and we've got to force that and find ways to reinforce that and make that connection at the platoon and at squad level just stronger and more resilient. And so what we did was we came up with the idea to take one morning every month. So we take the second Friday of every month. We come in at 7:30. We do a battalion formation. We normally reward a couple soldiers that relates to kind of taking care of their buddies, taking care of their teammates. And then we let everybody break down, and at the platoon and the squad level, they go to breakfast together. And there's no other scheduled activities. We don't give them something they have to talk about. They don't talk about training. They don't go to ranges. You go to breakfast, you eat as a squad, you eat as a platoon, and the idea is you check on each other.
That sounds like something I could handle. It's like, all right, your job for today is to go have breakfast. It's like, oh, pancakes sound great.
Yes, sir.
But you have to do it together. It sounds an awful like family. It's like when you spend that much time together, you start treating each other like brothers and sisters, and you've got your little squabbles, and you got your what do they call it, the sibling rivalry, and who's going to get this and who's going to get that pancake, and sit down for breakfast, break bread.
And that's exactly where the idea came from. So Command Sergeant Major Absher was just, hey, I solved more problems for my family over the dinner table by sitting down and eating with them. And we're like, what if that's all this is? That's
one of the, I watch Blue Bloods with Tom Selleck, And that is one of the main scenes in that show is having their Sunday dinner as a family. Even though they're all off on their separate families, they all come together and sit there and have dinner together, and they get so much, or at least in the show, they get so much done, and they learn so much and take care of problems that they thought were going to go out of control or had no solve or nothing to solve it with, but yet by the end of the 1 hour show, everything's all solved. I wish life was like that. It's just, hey, I got a problem. Give me an hour.
Yes, sir. And that's exactly what we're hoping to do. Just deepen that connection at the individual level with the guys that you're going to fight with, the guys you're going to go to the field with.
We have that, we have something like that in this office here. It's we eat lunch together a lot. And all in one day, just 3-4 lunches at a time. No, I'm just kidding. No, but we really get along, and getting to know people instead of just seeing them at work, and it's like, okay, I'm here, I'm at work, and you're just my coworker and nothing else. But it might be that way in the corporate field, but here in the military, it's so different because we spend more time together. And then 2 years later, we move on and we have to start all over again. So there's always something to learn.
Yes, sir. And that, again, that's exactly what we were trying to do. We knew we had the squad, and we knew we had the platoon, and we knew we had the right structure. But we knew that taking care of each other, like we just had to take responsibility for that. We had to take ownership for that, and we had to pull it back in at the right level. Lots of things are always going on. There's always going to be more to do than we can ever do. But what we realize is like, hey, we have to do better. We have to program time for this. We have to show from Command Sergeant Major Absher's level and my level that this is important to us. We're not going to keep making these mistakes. We're going to get this right. We're going to put effort into it. It was a huge statement to say, hey, we're not going to do PT on this day. We're going to go eat breakfast together.
I like that idea. I really do. Eating is always so much more satisfying than working out for me. For running, I can't run. So what was the first, when you started developing this program, what were your main goals in trying to figure it out or trying to get going with it? Or what brought you to the idea of breakfast?
So I'll start with how we started to look at the soldier. We started to realize and think of the soldier not just as a soldier. We started to think, okay, the soldier is his mind, he's his body, he's his heart. And all three of those things are linked. And all three of those things have to be in balance. And if one's out, it's going to affect the other. Think if a soldier has a broken arm, then his body's injured, and he's likely not going to have the ability to pour his heart and soul into being a good soldier that day, like to go knock out the bunker. So they all have to be working in unison. And we said, hey, we do a great job training our bodies, and we actually do okay training our minds. We incorporate a lot of critical thinking and creativity exercises into our training. But that mental health resilience is not something, when you go look at my training schedules, that I've programmed time for. And we're like, okay, well, how do we do that? And how do we use the squad and the platoon support structure to get after it? And we're like, I solve a lot of problems with my family and my wife, and we sort out most of our most difficult challenges every night at the dinner table or in the morning before I leave for work when I'm having my bowl of oatmeal. And I'm like, what if we just do that? And Sergeant Major Absher is like, what do we got to lose?
It sounds like a great idea. The problem that I would have is, I don't like to talk about things like that. Have you come up against that barrier with anybody? I mean, it's like, well, yeah, you guys can talk all you want and we can become friends and all this stuff, but I just don't like talking about my feelings. I don't like talking because I know there's things I can talk to about. I could talk about certain things with my wife, that I can't talk about with my friends, and then there's certain things I could talk about with my friends that I can't talk to about with my wife. So are there things like that that's been taken into account?
So we thought about it, and we have thought long and hard, like, okay, how do we drive the question, or how do we get the right conversation going? And we haven't found the perfect question to ask, or, when we're having the formation, we haven't found that perfect question that really does it. But we know it was working because the second time we did the breakfast, I went out to breakfast with a platoon from one of the companies, and I remember I was walking in, I was getting my plate of food, and I saw a squad leader, and he had 4 guys from his team around him, and he was clearly taking this to heart, and he was asking questions about, hey, what's your plan? I think I heard him ask, what are you going to do with your wife when we get out of when we come out of Patriot Peak? So we were going to the field for 2 weeks, and he was asking his soldiers, hey, what's your plan to be a good husband the night you come home, right? Like, are you taking her to dinner? Are you taking her out of town for the weekend? What are you going to do? And I think that TTP that I saw from that squad leader that day was the most creative way to get soldiers to talk about themselves, not talk about work, and see if the soldier is really committing to that personal side of his life and taking that family wholesome view to his life. And we have been really shocked, and we think it sent a big message to say, hey, we're willing to do this. We're willing to take this time. We're willing to take this off the table and protect this time every single month. What you owe us is getting to know your soldiers and finding ways through conversations with them, not about work, to reinforce the structure, know your soldiers so that we know when things are not right, and we can get them the help if we're not the right thing.
Have you noticed any common thread with problems that have come up? Have you noticed any one thing that stands out to you that might be able to be brought up to a higher level, that maybe we need to work on this as a bigger Army kind of thing? Because I know that MWR and BOSS is taking care of the morale side and trying to make sure that we have enough things to do behind the gates here at Fort Johnson. But are there any problems are you seeing a common thread of any kind of problems that are going from one soldier to another? More than one soldier is having the same problem?
I'm not seeing any, common threads of, hey, all these people are high risk. I can't find linkages between that. What I would offer is, by programming this time, giving it to leaders, they're taking responsibility as leaders, and they're taking this head on.
So you're not looking at fixable problems that, well, I'm bored over here, well, let's try to come up with something. No, you're looking at, hey, how is your personal life going at the moment? Are you having girlfriend problems, wife problems, family problems, money problems? What's going on? What's bothering you, kind of thing?
Yes, sir. That's exactly right. And we are seeing our squad leaders, our team leaders, our youngest leaders in the formation. They're not afraid to ask the questions, and they're not afraid to go find answers with or for them. When before, I think what we saw was soldiers would have a problem, and they wouldn't go to their teammates with the problem. They would go outside the battalion. And that's okay, because sometimes that's absolutely the right thing to do. But what we wanted to do was start getting, if leaders attack that problem with them, we're building trust, we're building confidence, we're building cohesion. And not only that, but I think we're solving more problems at the same time, versus just dealing with one at a time. When a soldier decides, hey, I got to go find this. Now we've got team leaders and squad leaders that are enabled. They've got time. They've got the support of a chain of command. And I think they're taking this seriously, and they think they're taking this head on. And I think we're probably solving more problems than I'm ever possibly going to know about.
I can see where you're coming from on that. It's easier to talk to somebody that you know than it is to talk to like the commander. If I've got a problem, well, you got to go see the first sergeant. Well, I don't know him, and I don't feel comfortable talking to somebody I don't know very well. Well, then go to your platoon sergeant. Well, he can't fix it. He doesn't have to fix it. He could just listen. Maybe sometimes you just need to vent. Mm-hmm. So getting to know each other, having more than just a hi-bye relationship, having that coworker status. Yeah, I just work with them. That helps a lot. It helps open up because, just like the buddy cop movies you see, it's like once you get to know each other and you could tell something's, hey, William, what's on your mind? What's going on here? I could see that something's bothering you. So I think, let's have a cup of coffee, see what's going on.
And it jumps out. We were in the field a few weeks ago, and I heard, hey, this platoon's struggling. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go walk with the platoon. Let me go see how they're doing.
You would not believe how much that helps. That right there, I love it when a commander actually just goes out and is part of the unit that he's leading. And it's instead of this mystic person up top that is there to take the brunt of all the accolades and troubles, he's out there actually part of the unit and talking to us and getting to know us, and it's like, oh man, that's my commander, man. I'd follow him anywhere.
Our leaders and all the leaders in our battalion, we continuously reinforce presence, and that is, you got to be physically there, and you got to be cognitively and spiritually wherever you're asking your soldiers to be and whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And they are fully embracing that, right down to, I saw one soldier on that patrol. He was starting to get tired. It was hot. People were running out of water. There was plenty of water, but and I watched the team leader go up. He could tell something was wrong, and he pulled a power bar out of his cargo pocket and made a soldier eat it in the patrol base. And I'm like, okay, we're clicking right now.
Nice.
Everything's working.
Did he get better?
He finished the patrol just fine.
Nice. See, that's what I like. That's what I like to hear. It's you don't have to. Sometimes you don't have to ask the person. You just know. Like, I knew. So what else? What else are we working on? Okay, you've got the breakfast. Is that the only part, or do you have other parts of the thing? Are you still working on maybe in the future, maybe a lunch?
So we're just going to keep it with the breakfast right now. And with the first idea, we just wanted to get it going. Now, actually, I think we're getting a little better. The structure of the breakfast, the formation, the timing, we're keeping all that the same. But what we have started to do is the command sergeant major and I, we normally will take a look at our training calendar, and we look for those big blocks of time. And we're like, we need to put the Buto breakfast right in front of this and right on the back side, right? We want to check on people before we're going out to the field, and we want to check on them when we're coming back in, because that's where, that time where we're all together, we're going to know. But that week after we come out of the field, that's where we got to do the check. So we're starting to think very more in depth about where we place these on our training calendar so that we're programming the time for leaders at the right places to do this.
So you got the logistics down, and that way you can see if there's been a change. You can see, like, we started with A, and now we're at B, and this is what's changed. So maybe a week after that or a little while after, see how the resiliency is, and see if they bounce back.
Yep. And on top of that, we do invite, our chaplain spreads out, and he goes with different companies. We have our holistic health and fitness strength and conditioning coaches. They're strength and conditioning coaches, but they've actually fully bought in, and they normally pick a platoon and go with. And that's another feedback kind of mechanism to us to let us know if things are working. And the brigade's inflict has gone out with a couple of the platoons and squads to do it. So we're seeing other people come to us because we're programming the time, we're protecting the time, and our people are accepting this. Our people are excited about it, and we're seeing people be comfortable talking to each other about it. And as such, I feel like the resources are kind of coming to me.
I'm sure, I'm absolutely positive that there are resources on this installation that would be more than willing to participate and help out where they could.
There's new faces every time we do it.
And you expect this to spread to other units? Or are you hoping?
I don't know. I haven't thought too much about that. I think I've been so fixated on, hey, is this really working? Am I doing all the right things? I've shared it. I've talked to some of my fellow commanders about it, and I know they keep asking me for feedback, so I know that people are. I'd like to see it catch on.
Yeah, they're waiting for results. I know a lot of people are result driven.
Yeah.
And I like growth. Whether there's a physical or a quantifiable result, I would like to see if there's been progress. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to have the answer. Just have we moved the needle a little? Mm-hmm. I think you're doing the perfect approach. Just keep working and see how it goes to see how far we could push it.
Mm-hmm. I hope so. And I'm certainly very proud of what I'm seeing from every leader in our battalion taking ownership of this. And there's a tons of examples. I already talked about the team leader that I watched him pull a power bar out and give it to a soldier. He didn't have to do that, but he could tell. Like several platoons, when we're meeting up and we're doing the breakfast, they bring food and barbecue pits, and our back of our coffs is becoming an area, and we're seeing platoons just cook out, grill out. I've even started to see some of the spouses, not large numbers, but some of the spouses have come to attend breakfast with their husbands.
You keep mentioning food, and you might start seeing PAO over there.
Come on and come and join us anytime.
All right, great. All right. So barbecue sounds great. And have it on a Friday afternoon. Yeah. That would be great. Start the weekend early.
With this Fort Johnson heat, we're like in the morning time, right?
Oh, gosh. And it's already Cat 5. It's like 6 in the morning. And so we got you said there's 3 parts, heart, body, and soul, basically, mm-hmm. is what it boils down to. And that is the triad of every good unit. And even the Marines, it's, what is it? Core, God, family, and core. Mm-hmm. No, God, core, and family.
Yep.
So it's always 3, and 3 is the magic number, I guess. That's why I like 3. I like 3. The number 3.
I've got an Alabama public education, so 3 is about as much as you can get.
I can count 1, 2, 4, 7, whatever. 1, 2, AB. So, how long have you been? So, how long has this been going on?
So, I think we're into about our probably 5 or 6 months now that we've been doing this and programming the time and making sure that we're getting platoons and squads together to do breakfast together. That's
nice. And is it like are you guys bringing the breakfast, or are you going over to the chow hall, or I'm sorry, dining facility, or is it changed again?
So we powered that decision down again to the squads. And
it's up to them.
So it is up to them. They get to plan it.
Man, this just keeps getting better.
The DFAC is available to them. We're seeing more and more platoons spread out, and everybody brings something, and they bring grills or cook camp stoves, and they're doing it in the back of the coffs in the parking lot. We're seeing people going to houses. I know one of the platoon leaders a few weeks ago invited his whole platoon over, and he had cooked for the whole platoon.
And how many people are in a platoon?
His platoon was probably about 30 to 35 people. So he had cooked.
That's a lot of people.
For 35 people. So.
Hope he had chickens.
Yeah.
The price of eggs nowadays.
Yeah. I know the DFAC is always slammed, but that's why we offset the time to try to get them through a little bit earlier before the post-PT crowd kind of hit. And then we see a lot of guys. Leesville Donuts is always a big hit too.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure they would love it. Let's see. There used to be some. Oh, yeah, that'd be cool. But that one's closed right now. Yeah, I'm just thinking I'm thinking of the places in town. It's like, yeah, we'll be back in a couple hours. But it might get expensive though, especially when you're not making that much money.
Yeah.
But donuts sound good. Oh, it's too bad we don't have a Krispy Kreme.
Hey,
that'd be cool.
You want guys to talk about themselves, give them food and give them time. They'll find a way to talk
Absolutely.
about themselves.
Absolutely. I usually do. I love just sitting at a where people congregate, wherever that is, and just listening or sitting and talking. Usually I'm talking because I talk too much. I'm paid to talk, so. So are there have you had a lot of people step forward and say, "Oh, how about this is a great idea. How about if we try this and do that?" Are the ideas starting to flow yet?
Yes, but it hasn't changed kind of the structure just going to breakfast together. We're seeing the way we're seeing ideas starting to flow is really by watching kind of our platoon sergeants, our platoon leaders, and our squad leaders, who they're inviting. Like you said, we've now seen a couple family members show up. We've seen the chaplain get invited to go out with certain people. And then we expected the DFAC to be, just slammed, and the DFAC normally is pretty full, but we're starting to see more and more people make it potluck behind the cough, or hey, we're going to do it at my house this week. And I think that's where we're seeing the creativity is going. And I think all that is good because I'm seeing leaders take charge. I'm seeing leaders be selfish, take on a servant leadership style for that morning, which is building that trust. It's building that cohesion for our platoons and our squads and for our soldiers.
Now, is to see, to see what kind of results are the results that you're going for? Are they measurable, or is it just more of a undertone kind of thing?
I think it's probably a lot of undertones, but I can tell you what I feel as I see this, and kind of as I try to sense the organization and get a good pulse. I think when I took command a little over a year ago, that this wasn't something we were talking about. We were talking about training. We were talking about deployments. We were talking about redeploying. We were talking about the business of being in the Army. We weren't talking about who we were as a battalion. We weren't talking about who we wanted to be as soldiers. We weren't talking about who we wanted to be as soldiers and spouses. And now I think I've seen, and I think this program is helping us move in that direction. I think we have a stronger sense of identity at the battalion, at the company, and at the platoon level. I'm seeing a stronger sense of identity from our soldiers, and I think that's because of the connection that we're trying to build. And I also think that the conversations about how we're doing, and I don't mean at work, and I don't mean how we're doing in the field and how we're doing as you know, are we the best infantry squad today? I think the conversations about, is our heart and our mind totally committed to doing our job today. I think we've gotten to that conversation. I think we're getting to that conversation at kind of a squad and a platoon level right now. And I'm pretty comfortable that that's the right level for us. But I'm pretty comfortable that that's what's happening is we're moving beyond the business of just being in the Army, and we're trying to move to, hey, is everybody totally committed to what we're going to go do today?
Is your mind in it?
Yep.
Is your mind 100% there? I could totally see going through, having a bad day or something, or before this, being here from the beginning and before being part of the unit before implementing this program or this style or this event kind of thing. Just being discontent, being disgruntled, just being meh about the place, take it or leave it kind of thing. And then, getting to know people, and then all of a sudden you've got more than just friends, and you've got more than just family, and now you've got a support system. And, I could see people changing their minds about wanting to re-enlist. I would. That's all it took for me was, getting in the right frame of mind.
No soldiers come to me and said, "Sir, I'm re-enlisting because you let us go to breakfast together."
You never know. You never know. It was that pancake.
Boy, I'd love for somebody to tell me that. If it's that easy, I'll buy breakfast for a new soldier every day.
I will do it for a donut. Well, you can have a donut, but you're going to have to run it off afterward.
Yeah.
As long as the breakfast is after PT, right?
Yeah.
It is after, because you don't want to be doing that on a full stomach.
Yeah.
But have you seen what's the most extravagant breakfast you've seen so far? Are they starting to try to outdo each other yet?
I haven't probably paid too much attention.
Now it's time to start.
That. I've gone out and I've done breakfast with a few different platoons, and I also make sure whoever I go with, like, that's where it is. I'm not circulating myself around to make sure people are having breakfast. I'm actually trying to do breakfast with Sergeant Major and the XO and the 3 and kind of my squad. And we're checking on each other, and we're trying not to let it, oftentimes I find myself being the voice of reason, because my 3 will be like, "Sir, we got to talk." Like, "Nope, we don't talk about that till 10:00. How's your wife adjusting to Fort Johnson? You just got here 30 days ago, man."
I'll serve no fries before their time. I'm sorry, the Fast Times at Ridgemont High just popped in my head. Nope, now's not the time. But that's a great job. I mean, it sounds like out of the box thinking. And I'm not talking this JRTC box. Get it? No. Okay. And out of the box thinking, finding different ways to capture the heart, mind, and soul. And it sounds like a great idea. I mean, it's simple. It's a simple thing, and some of the easiest solutions are the simplest.
It's simple, and there's a million little things packed into it.
It's crazy.
And the soldiers, the leaders, they love it. They are taking this one. I don't feel like I have to do anything else creative with it, because the soldiers and the leaders are running with it.
You give them the time, they'll come up with the ideas.
Absolutely. Every single time.
That's empowering. That's empowering your troops. I am so happy that you came in, because I'm thrilled about this. I wish I was having breakfast.
Come join us. We'll be doing the next one before our brigade rotates out to the box for our rotation, but we're going to make sure we sneak one more breakfast in for all the guys before we go out. Again, we got to make sure everybody's heart and mind is totally committed to what we're going to put our bodies through for the next 21 days.
Absolutely. That's going to help out in the box. It really will. And knowing that you're 100% on board and ready to go, and you don't have other things that are distracting you, even a little bit of your concentration away, is very helpful.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the time, and feel free to come join us anytime.
All right. Colonel Seitz, I appreciate it. Commander of the 2nd Battalion, 2nd Infantry Regiment. I appreciate you coming in. And, yep, so does everybody else.
Great. Thanks again.
I appreciate it. I'm Jeff England, and this has been the Fort Johnson podcast. Thanks for listening, and we'll be listening at you later.